What's going on, guys? It's been a minute since you've seen this gorgeous, luscious, beautiful face. That's a bit of a lie. Anyway, so today is a big day. We're finishing up the suspension side of things. Now, we won't be able to do the rear today just because I need a few more parts from P2M, which you can see like right here, somewhere down here. That's who's really sponsoring this video today, so big shout out to them. Thank you very much. I also want to thank my buddy BB. He helped press in these bearings for these new hubs, so without him, I couldn't do it. I don't have a press here. I never got one because that was like the first time I ever needed one. So been in this garage now for 7 years, the first time I need to really use it. Might invest in one eventually, but it just takes up a lot of space. But P2M is the biggest sponsor today, and I want to show you some of these parts, guys. There's a lot to go over here, and I'm really excited. Like I said, I'm gonna get all the front done, and they sent me some other stuff too that's really cool. First thing I want to talk about though are these hubs. I'm going to post up some pictures here where I talked to BB, Brandon Blast, BBS GTR, did all this for me. The hubs and the whole kit is something I bought off of Rock Auto, and then my buddy Rob over at Vagworks powder coated all of this. Now, you'll notice I powder coated pretty much every square inch of this thing, and the reason for that being is I don't have the original dust shield, so those holes, if I left them open, would just rust out, so do that. This is where the factory calipers bolt to, again, is a stagnant part. The little bit of powder is not going to hurt anything. Now, backside, I even powder coated the cap and everything like that. Now this here, I had him plug and plug because that is where our sensor goes for ABS. Now, I've had some people say, well, these are pivot points, but you're not pivoting on these holes inside of here, right? They actually have joints to go inside them, so they're stagnant. Again, you can keep that powdered or have anything that keeps it from moving. That is ideal. That's what you want. You don't want it to go anywhere, and again, I don't want it to rust in any shape, way, or form, or I'd be able to show it. Same reason I wanted to go ahead and paint the backside of these hubs. Now, I think eventually this paint will chip off, but I want to prevent that as long as I can. Now, the face of them, I did not. As you can see, that's where the wheel is going to bolt. I could have, but again, I think that's just going to rip off with using the wheel over time, so I'm just going to hit it with some, just something to keep it from rusting out. As you can see, so far it's been okay. Whoops, as I drop it, good thing powder coat's very strong. Yeah, these are brand new hubs, bearings. I replaced all the guts. The only thing that's reused from Toyota is the actual hub part itself, and then that back plate that I have powder coated. The reason I did that was apparently, you know, they just come like with a really chintzy paint. You'd have to redo them anyway, so this seems like the better route. I think in total with the hubs, everything, for the front, I think it was like 120 bucks. Now, those had great reviews, but for the rear, you pretty much have to buy OEM, and that gets up to like $600–700 to do the rear. So the fronts are cheap and easy. The rears is where you're going to incur some cost. I also, for the rears, wouldn't use these studs because that's where the power's at. I have no issues using these studs for that, but for the rear, I'm going to knock those out and put ARPs in it just because making more power now. But I just wanted to show you that first before we get over to the phase 2 stuff. Again, love the way this looks. Big shout out to VPC Motorsports down in West Virginia. They did a great job. It's going to look like a new car on the underside. Now, look at all these parts. Look at all this. Again, this comes from Phase 2 Motortrend. Thank you guys very much for this. I can't thank you guys enough. They sent out stuff they don't even have on their website. So some of this is a little bit prototypey, but you'll be able to eventually see it. The floor mats are stuff you can buy right now along with a lot of suspension stuff, but some of the stuff over here you can't. So I'll start with some of the easier stuff first, and I got clamps and some other things too. They sent me 2 sets of floor mats because we have 2 Supras, so it's very kind. And they have rear floor mats. Most of the kits out there don't have rear floor mats, and they're thick. And then one big thing for me is OEM has always had these like little rubber stubs on it, so they don't slip and slide around. These have it, and they're thick, and it's not cheap feeling. It has a nice edge. These are cut properly too. Has the factory hook. I broke that out of my carpet, so it doesn't help me, but it's actually cut too. It's not just straight. So I have another set, but see how it actually goes like the factory, where it actually curves up. So whoever made these did a very good job. And again, has the rubber studs. The other set I had is a rubberized material on the bottom, but it's smooth. What doesn't help you, those rubber studs dig into the carpet and keep it from sliding up. Love that. Very, very nice set. Has a nice metal badge on it too. And you can see it's actually riveted in. Well done. And again, the passenger side here is the same way. Rubber studs, has a nice metal badge. Very nice setup. Again, contours with the actual, it's not just a straight cut floor mat or anything like that. Very, very nice. Now, I'm going to say it does have like that JDM feel with the checkers. Not sure how I feel about that. That's a personal opinion. It's not really my thing, but they're floor mats and they're nice, and the cost, they're under 100 bucks for the set, for nice floor mats. I know there's cheaper ones out there, but these ones actually are cut right, and they're thick, and they have the nubs, and that's what matters to me. I don't have any good floor mats right now. I use the cheap rubber ones from Walmart, so these are 10 times better, so I'm pumped about that. As you guys know, factory OEM floor mats are stupid money, so thank you guys for that. Now let's go over some of these bars here and braces. So This one here is, I believe, was mispackaged. It doesn't fit anywhere in the car. The front one I know for sure is a standard front strut bar. I shouldn't say standard, but it fits our cars. That, I believe, is for something else. And you can see here, if you look end to end, doesn't fit. Tried it in the rear, which is much narrower, but it doesn't fit this car. I'm not sure what it's for. I think it's for a MK4 Supra, and it accidentally got sent to me, but not a big deal. Here is a front strut bar. And again, I like that the stuff that you can see up above doesn't have the blue on it. It actually has their name engraved into it. They use black hardware. This has like a nice, I don't know, it's a powder coated finish, but it's a smooth but rough finish. The gray ends are nice too. And again, this all has lock washers with all black hardware. There's the part number for that, guys, if you want to check that out. Then this is one of the first lower tie bars. Okay, this ties in the rear nuts in the back. So where you would bolt this up to, let's sit there. This actually bolts up to the car at the actual points where you would adjust your camber and everything of that nature. So if we take this back here, I'll show you guys. Can't really bolt it up just because, but it's gonna bolt here. Let's focus here, focus, come on. It's gonna bolt there and then bolt right there. So it's gonna sit, again, I've got this stupid exhaust up right now, but it would sit something like that up there. And no, it does not. I got to come over this way more, but it will not hit your 4-inch exhaust or anything like that. And it would sit in a little bit further. So it will sit in there. And again, it'll sit flush against it too. So it shouldn't hit your sway bar, but it sits down below, helps stiffen everything up. Again, we already have IRS, so this helps stiffen up the rear. Again, nice gray color, nicely welded. Again, this is made in Taiwan too. I think I mentioned that already. All this stuff is made in Taiwan, which is really nice. There's the part number for that. Now this is the front one. I've seen a couple people ask about this, and again, this ties in to all of your adjustment that you would use for your lower and upper control arms and everything of that nature to help align the car. So once I get this up a little bit higher, I'll try to get this bolted on the car so you guys can see it. It'll be actually easy since the rear is already set up. I don't want to mess with it at that moment, but the front, actually physically put it on the car since all the bolts are loose, makes that kind of easy. So I'll put it up there just so you guys can see it. Now let's go over the suspension parts here. Those are going in the rear. We're not going to be doing that today, but the fronts here we're going to be doing along with a few other parts here. So here is your upper control arms. They use spherical bearings with dust boots on everything. This has adjustment at the top. Now this you really don't need. This here is something that can be fixed, as we don't adjust anything unless you're going crazy with a race car or something like that. This is not necessary for us to adjust or do anything with. And again, they have it marked left and right, make it super easy for you, as they are slightly different. Again, spherical bearings, very nicely done. There's the part number for that, is right here. Boom. Comes with new cotter pins, everything else. New castle nuts, everything is new. You don't have to supply anything when it comes to that. So everything's new. Then it comes down to the lower control arms here. Again, does not have, the one thing you will have to keep from your old hardware is this bracket here. Pretty much everyone does this. This bracket here, you need to make sure you keep. That's why I had it powder coated. I also bought new hardware, or reuse your hardware is what you would normally do for here. But in my case, I bought new hardware to go into these bolts to hold it on. This is your lower control arms. Now, these here, if you can see this here, I can adjust this or change this out depending what I want to do. So if we come over here, front lower control arms hardware for big brake kits, I can actually swap that out. So you can see here, because I have bigger brakes to help it not hit. Depending how close we are, I might have to swap these out. I don't know yet. I'll find out here shortly, but this allows me to swap it out for a bigger brake kit if necessary. So if you can see, it pushes the castle nut down and the whole assembly down some. So I guess it gives me a little bit more room. I'll find out once I get on the car. Love the extra bracing here too to help with flex. Again, very nicely welded. The blue color's nice. Again, all spherical bearings here. Comes with adjustment. If you need crazy camber, they have another version, but we're gonna run 0 on this, so I don't need any of that adjustment. So it doesn't matter to me, but it does come with that instructions for it. Then for the rear here, again, this is not stuff we're doing today, but I'm just gonna talk on it. These are your lower tie rods. Oh, I don't have the box for this one, so sorry guys for the part number, but if you go to their website, it's pretty easy to find. Your lower tie rods, again, so you can see rubber dust boots on this, spherical bearings. Not doing it today because I'm still waiting for the upper arms, but that is your tie rods. Then here for the lower control arms, I love the fact that this is braced, so it's not just the tube. They then put this big piece of steel underneath of it to help with any type of flex to eliminate that. Yeah, that's pretty freaking awesome. The 2 points of mounting for everything. And again, dust boots on the spherical bearings to help keep dirt and debris out. Very nice setup. This won't break the bank either, but it's not going to be the cheapest. I think that most of the parts run around, some of this suspension stuff is around $550 a set. It's not cheap, but it's also not expensive. It's cheaper than most of the factory stuff. It is more expensive, especially the upper control arms, than factory, but you're getting a nicer piece. Same with the lower control arms and everything like that. A lot more adjustment there too, if necessary. And again, if you're going to be redoing all this, it's kind of like a why not. Lastly, the one thing I want to check out that they make, and I've seen these before, my one buddy had them, are these aluminum clamps that have that little piece in there too to keep it from pinching. But these are hose clamps. So these are 3" and 3.5. Now, you need to make sure you measure your actual coupler on your car to make sure it needs 3" or 3 1/8, 3 1/4. They make them pretty exact because there isn't much flexibility in these. Once they're clamped on, and you can see there's not much free range of motion like there is like a worm clamp or anything else. So they need to be pretty exact. So you need to make sure your coupler's on, then measure it, then see exactly which size you need. I measured mine before doing all this. 3" is going to be close, but I don't want it to be too big, then it not clamp enough. So I might have to put a slightly longer bolt, see if it works. If it creates a pinch point, that's my fault. But I think this is going to work great. 3.5 end up being perfect. So excited to get those all on. All right, guys. So made a serious amount of progress here. Don't want to turn my light on my head here just because it's going to just blow everything out. But ABS sensor bracket's on. The only thing, again, that I couldn't really use OEM was the other bracket that bolts to the factory aluminum piece. But 2 zip ties work. It gives you plenty of slack here. Probably going to get away with 1, but wanted to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. You want to give yourself room. It has minimal movement here, but it's more down here where you want to make sure the arm pivots and stuff, that you're good. Again, right now, this is not aligned or anything, so I just lock these bolts in for now just to get it to an alignment rack, and I'll let them handle all that as I don't have the tools for that. So I tighten some of these bolts down. I need to get a castle nut for this because the company that I had do all that zinc coating lost it. So now I need to go get a castle nut and some extra cotter pins for that. But everything else is in there and great. It's hard to see, so we'll turn this light on. Sorry if it's probably gonna blow things out. Let me see if I can get another light here. So if you guys can see back in here, all of this looks fantastic. Now it's just weird because that sensor there is old and you can't buy, I don't think you can buy them. So just gotta be careful with that. But everything is on for the most part. I gotta tighten a few things down yet, but very, very happy with all this. Also went ahead and put the brakes on, as you guys can see. These APG brakes are huge, massive brakes. These are 8 piston, 365mm rotor. Like some of the biggest brakes you can actually get. The wife's there, I think there's a 380s. I stepped down slightly just to make it a little bit easier for certain wheels I'd like to use. Hers are pretty much maxed out and I can't really do anything. So want to go down 15mm just to be safe so I can get certain wheels. Coming down here, again, everything slid up nice. I didn't have to modify, hammer anything. Like I was very, very happy. Installing this bracket was easy. I used the factory bolts, factory threads. One thing you want to be cognitive of, if you're like me, set this to 0. Most of us realize that we can make all the adjustments from here and here. So just set this to 0. There's no need to mess with any of that. Which is turn it the whole way in and down. Now this one here, 0 is somewhere in the in-between. So it's not like max out this way or this way, get you 0. So I'm going to have to let the alignment shop play with that. But yeah. Another thing I might do is I tightened this up before, but you can see it kind of kinks. It should be able to come down a little bit smoother. So I might mess with that a little bit, just so it's not as kinked. And then I plan on bleeding the brakes today once I get this all done. But one thing I didn't realize, this is the correct way for these to go on. I put the rear rotors on backwards. So not a big deal. I just have to take these 2 bolts off, boom, boom, and then flip one side to the other. So it takes me 10 minutes at most. But just like a stupidity thing, didn't even think about it, like dirt, I'm an idiot. So gonna swap those out. As you can see here, that's how they should be facing. Those cuts go forward versus I had them going backwards. Again, this is a vented setup, so you need to make sure you're doing it the right way. The other thing I want to show you guys, I did end up using these here. So let's flip this around here. The low profiles for the big brake kits. This makes the bottom a nut instead of a castle nut like this. So it would sit down here like this and the thread would stick out. And it helps when you have big brakes like me. Now, I put it on just to test. I wanted to see if I absolutely need to have it. I didn't absolutely need to have it, but it definitely freed up some room just to be safe. You guys can see here, it frees up a ton of room. I feel a lot more comfortable with it that way. Just, God forbid, anything can happen. I had probably 6-7mm worth of space in the old setup on the original, but I feel a lot more comfortable with this. So yeah, I don't want to do any more, go any more with that. So yeah, very, very happy. Now the other thing we have to do here is, again, finish tightening things up, and then I'm going to start on the other side. I'm going to show a little bit more, but I wanted to show one side completed, what it looks like. Again, I'm going to flip the brakes around here too, and then I'd like to bleed the brakes in this video also, just so everything's done. I can actually get the car outside. I'm going to take the wheels off that since my other wheels aren't here yet, and just to see what the car looks like. But for this side, I'm going to be a little bit more in depth. I wanted to show you guys what it looks like completed, and now that I've done one side, to make sure I speak on it properly, because I've had that habit in the past, starting off with the first one, and then speaking properly. But there's a left and right side. They are marked left and right, and it will match up with your factory hubs. So let's see how it says right, matches up with right, and then on the bottom side, I believe on this, it says right there. Same thing with this. This is left, and it matches up the back of the hub that says left. So that's the best way to find out. The other way to find out is the machine side of this. See, rounded, machine flat, is the side that you need to bolt this to. Now, you will need to make sure you save this from your factory setup. All the aftermarket arms I've seen have done this. If you buy new OEM, it comes with this bracket, but again, it's not painted very well. So I had this powder coated black, and I've had people ask me, Ryan, why don't you change the color already? I posted this on Facebook. I like the blue. Like, again, not everything matches on this. I did, you know, there's a couple different colors in here, the green, the blue, the gold on that. I don't know. I just want it fresh and new, and I think that looks cool. It looks race car. Reminds me of the back in the 2000s Nopi National days. If you're too young, you probably know what Nopi Nationals is, but it reminds me of that era, and I really like it. Now, one thing I also recommend is go and buy new hardware. The stuff I had was fine, but the OEM hardware is nice and thick. It's properly threaded, and it'll fit right in here. Now, the next thing you want to do is the direction, the way this is going to go in. So if you can see here, so this is going on the passenger side. This is going to face out like so, and you want to make sure this bracket here faces out like this. So your sway bar end needs to face to the front of the car if you're looking for the passenger side. So this is how it should look, again, when bolted up. 2 bolts here. Goes in really nice. I got like dust on it from sitting so much. But again, this should be facing forward. This is how it's going on. Again, passenger side. So it'll go like this. Obviously, this goes up top. Now, again, these spherical bearings, these machine pieces they have on the side will fall out when you cut these tabs here. They cut these zip ties, so remember that. I didn't do it yet. One thing I don't want to say too is I haven't had to modify or mess with anything yet. You know how awesome it is? I'm so used to getting aftermarket parts. And this is never knocking anybody, but there's very few companies when I get them, it fits right. Powerhouse Racing does a really good job. Dula Designs is, I mean, I think he's probably the most off the wall crazy about fit and finish, like checking and checking. That's why it takes him so long. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it takes him so long to get it perfected. Then you get it, it literally is perfect in every shape, way, and form. This, literally everything went up. The only thing I could say they could possibly add would be the bracket for this, but again, that's 100% stupid and unnecessary. But everything else is great. Like the fact they offer these, they've thought it all out. It's been around long enough. This company's been around since 2002, so we're talking 21 years now. They're not fly by night. These guys have been around for quite some time. Makes me just happy to see. So, all right, next thing we're gonna do, I like doing the bottom first. I did the top on the other one. It kind of gets in the way, so do the bottom first, then put the top on. Just makes it a little bit easier in my opinion. Yeah, and you wanna make sure you put the bolts in the right way too, so I'll show you that once I get it installed. Okay, so now you guys can see it's just the bolt goes in like this. Now I wanna show you guys, here is how the bolts need to be slid in. So that washer and bolt needs to face this way, and then this bolt and washer needs to face that way. Again, this is your alignment bolts. So this has a stud off this side that attached to this. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to show you guys. When you install this too, don't try to push it in this way. I found that having it angled down like this and pushing it up, because this is flared out more on both of them, it allows it to literally slide up in. I put these in my hoodie pocket, so when I got it slid up in, I could just slide the bolt through, and then put the nuts on. You can see, moves very freely right now because I don't have anything aligned. But again, I like to leave it like this because I want to do the top next. We'll also bleed the brakes here, like I said, but that's just the first step. And again, I like putting this on before you put this piece here, just because it's a lot easier to crank these down. And again, we'll tighten all the rest of this once we put the top piece on. Now, once you get this installed, again, it's one giant bolt, long bolt that slides from here. You want to start from this side, slide it in. If you try to do it from this side, it hits. And one thing I've always seen people get frustrated with is the washer. They'll have like the washer head out here the whole way with it, and it hits against the body. Slide the washer down, like have it down here, because if not, the body literally curves out. And if you can see here, Toyota actually indented it here for this design. And then it's 2 19s on both sides, and then it'll move up and down. Again, probably seems stiff. It's probably because I have it over tightened, but is spherical bearings. And again, this is just my hand doing it. Once you get the force of 3,500 pounds going down the highway, it's nothing. This is completely loose, so I haven't even tightened this. But next thing you want to do after you do that is we're going to swing this up and that fits right there on my coilover. I have brand new bolts and nuts for that too, as you can see right here. Might be able to do this all, see if I can try and do this with my camera in my hand. See if we can do this here. I'm gonna try and hold it. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, look at that. Would you just, perfect. And then I got a brand new nut and washer. Again, there is a website called toyotadiy.com. If you have someone invite you to the website, it'll give you the ability to look up the prices for the parts. It's pretty awesome. I was sent it years ago on Super Forums, and I hate saying this, but it's the truth. We can pretty much buy everything new from Toyota. There's some weird stuff that's being replicated now, but almost every nut, bolt, washer you need, plastic fitting, you can buy brand new from Toyota. So if you want to replicate OEM, you can damn near do it easily. It's pretty impressive, but I digress. That's all you got to do there. Again, then I'll have to tighten this down. It's super loose right now. Next we're going to do is put the hub in. So you got to take these castle nuts off. Boom, boom, boom. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to tighten down this here. For this short one here, you can see since there's not a castle nut in the bottom, it has this little nut here. Now, let me see how I'm going to do this here. If you loosen this up, it'll actually pull out threads here. So you want to make sure this is spun the whole way up in, then you tighten this nut and this nut together. Then the top nut here, this castle nut, let me pull this off. Boom, 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 boom. Come on. Again, I haven't tightened this down yet. This nut here and this castle nut get tightened together to hold the hub in. So just remember that. So this and this get tightened together, then this and this get tightened together. Up here, you just have these two nuts. Very, very simple. And then I need to buy castle nuts for this because the company that had zinc coat all my stuff lost them. So freaking awesome. Excuse me. Yeah, so let's get these hubs on. Oh, before I do that, I should say, you want to go ahead and set this up here too. Set it to 0. What I mean by that is see how it spins in and out? You want to get this as close in as you possibly can because we have factory adjustment. We don't even need this up top. That's probably the only thing I would really suggest is that they don't add this. This is 100% unnecessary for almost every Supra owner. We have so much adjustability in our factory setup. It's insane. We are very fortunate for that. I just don't see the need. The bottom, I guess, is okay, but I mean, that's just to even add it, but we can go stupid low, stupid high with factory adjustment, and we're very lucky for that. So just one thing, besides that, I'm beyond blown away how nice these parts are. All right, so this is what it's gonna look like once you get that all bolted up. So bolt it down, make sure you spin this nut nice and tight. Now this is still loose, I have this loose and that stuff down there. Now I'm also putting on my APG big brakes today. You're gonna use that box to make sure I don't drop anything. Should be staying pretty sturdy now. It should be good. I've got the brakes over there. Again, you saw it on that side, but this is their 365 millimeter version. 8 piston up front. I did 4 piston in the rear, 365 millimeter rear. Look at this hog. God, it is a big bitch. You want to go ahead and put the bracket on that you saw I had up there first. Then these 2 bolts go in it there, and that's it. It's that simple to bolt this on. Really like this kit and love this color. I'm excited to get this behind a nice looking wheel, but let's throw it up on the car. I got the car kind of sitting low right now because I'm doing some other things, but now we've got the brakes on. I like actually having this because it's a little bit easier to show from the top there. This adjustment and stuff is pretty awesome. I'm excited to get it to a shop to align it. Usually I have my buddy BB align the cars, but this time around I'm going to take it to a shop that kind of specializes in it because people are going to probably ask why BB's not doing it. He has always done a great job, but again, some of the equipment they have up there isn't as new or as nice as some of the other places. And on top of it too, just go to someone that does this day in, day out, and this is kind of like their specialty. That's the only reason. So happy with it. Brakes are back on this side now. So let's start actually bleeding these brakes, and I'll show you guys what you have to do for that, which is pretty basic. So for this car, I've already bench bled the booster itself, or the master here. So I've already bench bled it, so the fluid's already in it. I've got these caps on it right now to keep the fluid from coming out. Now there's one other fitting I need to tighten up yet. Once I'm done with that down below, I'm gonna start bleeding this. I gotta pull these caps off and slide these on. Now it shouldn't come gushing out, but it will drip. So I put a little bucket under here with some towels just so it doesn't splash up onto anything. But I just gotta tighten that one fitting there where the blue towel's sitting on. And then we're gonna start installing this and start bleeding. When you bleed this system, you wanna start the furthest away traditionally from the brakes itself. So the back passenger side wheels where you want to start. On top of that, let's just go back there so we can show it. So we're going to come back to this wheel, and when you bleed anything with dual bleeder, so it has an inside and an outside bleeder, you're going to start with the inside bleeder first, then come to the outside, and then repeat that process. Then we'll go over to the other side of the car here, and again start with the inside bleeder, then outside. Then we'll go up here to the passenger side there, inside, outside, and then we'll finish on the driver's side because that is the closest to the actual brake master cylinder. So pretty simple, guys. I just want to get it done so I have some brakes again and actually be able to move the car. All right, so did get the brakes bled. Took me a while. These are a dual bleeder setup. I've got this little hand pump tool I can use so I don't need someone in the car. So yeah, everything worked well. You have to start with the inside bleeder, then work to the outside, which I thought it would be the opposite, but everything I read up on, start with the inside, then work the outside, whether it's Brembo, Stop Tech, so on and so forth. So just have to do that instead of 4 times, I have to do it 8 times because of dual bleeders. But yeah, everything's set up, good to go. Trying to figure out what to do with zip ties. I was told about some bike shops that have some that they use for like cables. Instead of using zip ties, we'll see. I'm just not a huge fan of zip ties. Looks cheap and chintzy. I did everything else really nice. I just want to, if I don't have to have zip ties, that would be ideal. If so, I mean, it's not hurting anything. It's just personal preference here. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Again, check out Phase 2 Motortrend. They have got a ton of cool parts. They've got more coming. APG performance brakes as usual. Thank you guys very much. I can't wait to drive this thing. We're getting so close, guys. So close. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.